Our HIT series today is with Graham, Josh, Brenton, and Jason of all of the Telarus Advanced Networking team in some form or fashion. And you can see from Graham's decked out appearance, they are dressed for success, and they're going to present you guys for the next little bit with a connectivity carol.
Yeah, thanks, Jen, and good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I think, as Jen said, 15,000 of you tuned in over the course of this year. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys joining us for these calls. We really, we do it for you. These are topics based on what you want to hear, and we're so glad that you guys take the time out of your day to join us. This is my favorite time of the year by far. The holiday season is so great. There's so many awesome things about it, including the great stories and movies that happen over the holidays. Movies like Elf, Home Alone, all these great ones. One of the classics, of course, is A Christmas Carol, and there's been many versions of it. Go ahead and drop in the chat what your favorite version of the Christmas Carol is. Mine, I love the Scrooged version with Bill Murray, and then, of course, the classic Disney Christmas Carol. But we're going to do our own version of the Christmas Carol here today to wrap up the year. We're going to do a connectivity carol where we're going to walk through the ghosts of network past, network present, and network future to help you with some new tools and techniques that you can use in 2026 to help grow your network business. So let's go ahead and kick over to the next slide there, Chandler. Again, usually when you look at your base of customers, you're going to find they're going to fall into one of these categories, right? You've got a group of customers that are probably what I'll call living in the past, right? They've got old network gear, they've got legacy stuff happening, and we want to help them make that transition. Second category, we've got folks that have advanced some stuff. They've maybe modernized a little bit, but they're struggling with all of the things that come with that, all the different elements, all the different aspects. And we're going to talk a little bit about sales tools and techniques that you can use to talk to them. And then, of course, we're going to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what we think is coming down the rail, what we're going to see as we start to round out the year of 2026 and into 27 and beyond. We're going to talk a little bit about where we see this going. So buckle up. It's going to be a fun time, a connectivity carol, networks past, present, and future. So next slide, Chandler. First off, why do we care about this, right? Who cares if people have got old network gear, if they've got old stuff going? Well, we all care because there's a huge opportunity there for us in the form of revenue. As you guys know, we're all in this business to make money, and this is a huge opportunity. The enterprise network landscape is experiencing a ton of growth. A lot of that is due to AI and some of the things happening, but the market is projected to surge from approximately 124 billion, already a huge number, to almost 200 billion by 2023, representing a compound annual growth rate of over 9%. So we're seeing a lot of things that are driving that, right? I talked about AI, that's a huge part of it, but also things like cloud and SaaS adoption, the distributed workforce that we all know and love so well. A lot of us have made a lot of money over that over the last couple of years. And then, of course, things like IoT devices and mobility devices that are just exploding on the network. For technology advisors, understanding what's going on with all these different dynamics and being able to communicate that to your customers is going to be critical to helping them make the changes they need to make in the upcoming years to be ready to compete. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Again, we're going to talk about the connectivity carol. We're going to basically break down where your customers are. Each one of your customers fits into one of these categories, we believe. Either they're dealing with past architecture, as I said, they're struggling with what's going on today. And then we want to give you, of course, some tips and tricks as to how you can help them take the next step into the future. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. And I'd like to invite our first guest onto the call. Chandler, you can move to the next slide. Playing the role of the ghost of the network past, it's our man, Josh Hazelhorse. Haas, welcome to the call, the ghost of network past. Now, a lot of people think we chose you for this role because, of course, you're the seasoned veteran on the team, right?
That's discrimination, Graham, and you know it.
You got a little bit of the gray in the beard.
Yeah.
No, but the reality is these are the kind of conversations you have every day, right? You help a lot of tech advisors guide their customers through this exact transition. So why don't you talk a little bit about how some of these conversations start, kind of a lot, the environments that you find yourself being introduced into, and how you kind of help them make that transition.
Yeah, and you mentioned transition, right? Is we work on a lot of projects that they're still not transitioning. They're still international or global in scale. They still have islands of tech teams where I've got, a network team, a cybersecurity team, an applications team, and they're completely disjointed. But there's still requests for I need, point to points, and I need MPLS, and I need, hub and spoke solutions, and that's not wrong, depending on the use case, right? So we started getting crazy advanced in doing things over software like DMVPN to connect locations to locations and multi-site to multi-site. Again, it's still not wrong. So if you have customers that are doing this request, again, it's not wrong. But what we have to do is we have to ask the questions, right? Of how are you connecting? Where are you connecting? Why are you connecting? Where are the workloads? Where are the users? Where are the remote users? How are we doing remote access? If we don't ask all those questions, we don't understand the whole game. And a lot of times, Graham, the customer doesn't only understand the whole game because you're talking to the network guy. But then the cybersecurity guy is talking about doing things like SD-WAN and next-gen firewalls and IPsec tunnels, and they're not talking the same language. So we kind of have to bring in and talk the same language. But again, if they're still talking legacy, it's okay. It's not incorrect. It just depends on that specific use case, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times we're not talking about a full, lift and shift or a full rip and replace. There are certain things we can do to help them meet the needs of today's user, right? With some of the stuff they have in place previously. And it's really just, like you said, it's not wrong what they've got, and they probably set things up the way they did for a reason that was, pertinent at the time. But the reality is a lot of things have changed, right? Things like the distributed workforce, a lot of this stuff where you can't just have everything at your headquarters locked down anymore. There's a lot of different things that are changing. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide there, Chandler. Talk a little bit, Josh, about some of the challenges these older users are having with the environment of today.
Yeah, I'll talk to you on a specific one I'm working on right now. And I don't know how, I don't want to say be discriminate, but I don't know how the age of our listeners are. But I have a city in Texas right now. They're asking to decommission spurs. Now, the people that are running the project don't even know what those things are. Like they don't even really have IT staff. The IT staff retired 127 years ago, right? But they have these locations that need to connect back to the main location. It's kind of a hub and spoke if you think about it in today's world, but back then it was the way you did it. That was best practice on how to connect city buildings to, the HQ building. But the problem is what? I have no visibility on transport. I don't know about anybody up down. I don't know if there's any trouble unless somebody calls me and tells me that they're not getting interwebs, right? So how do I troubleshoot anything? Like everything is guessing at that point in time. Even if we shut down some spurs, now we say, okay, bring in some internet connections at those local locations, let them have local internet breakout. The person I'm talking to has no idea what I just said. So sometimes we got to oversimplify and say, listen, it's inefficient. We're not going to fix your network issue. We're going to fix your inefficiency issue. I have no visibility. I can't see. I can't roadmap. I can't troubleshoot. I can't help my end users. We're going to fix that. We're not going to sell you anything. We're not going to tell you names and acronyms. We're just going to fix the problem. And the problem was it's inefficient. But then it goes back to accounts payable, and these people, especially in cities, government, schools, or whatever, the AP department just pays invoices, Graham. They don't know what they're paying for. They don't care what they're paying for. Their whole job is to collect the invoice, pay the invoice, get it out, right? Well, that cost is consistent and constant. Is there a better way? We hear our TAs out there all the time saying, hey, well, we can save you costs. Yeah, well, maybe. But the AP people have no idea what that even means, right? Well, what it means is let's decommission some of this stuff. Let's get it a little bit more elegant and simplified. And the byproduct is going to be cost cutting.
Yeah, I love that concept in the middle of the slide here, this idea of cost without agility, right? Like a lot of these companies will just continue paying these invoices because they always have. But what they're paying for, they could just be doing something different that's going to give them so much more flexibility and helping them kind of walk through that. It's not always about saving money. It's just about doing things better and easier. And to your point, Josh, more efficiently. So Chandler, let's go to the next slide here. So how to spot some customers in the past, Josh. Couple of quick keywords, couple of things that you maybe would hear from your customers to sort of signal our TAs out there that, hey, this is maybe somebody that's got some antiquated architecture or needs some help kind of making that transition.
Yeah, if say I'm working for with a global operator. I got locations in the United Kingdom. I got some in Australia. I got some in the U.S. And I'm on private line circuits. I already know they're in multiple MPLS worlds. They got MPLS over at Verizon in Europe. They got MPLS with AT&T in the United States. How do I see it all? How do I manage it all in one simple interface so I can properly troubleshoot my locations? Like I can't. I already know you can't. You can't bind Verizon's MPLS with AT&T's MPLS and manage in a central planer. I already know this. They may not know that yet, but there is a simpler way to do it. Guys that say I'm the internet drain. Everything comes back to me at headquarters, and then I am internet out for all of my locations. Why are you backhauling and hairpinning all of that traffic back to a central point, creating latency, and then letting me get internet out from you? Why don't you just let me connect locally? Just give me local internet breakout so I don't have to come all the way back to you to get to Salesforce, for example. So those kind of questions, we already know that it's kind of a legacy. I wouldn't even say legacy routing. It's just a legacy way of thinking of this is what we've always done. This is what we
Yeah.
thought is the reason. And there's just such an easier way.
And that's a key, not necessarily a better way, just an easier way, right? Kind of simplifying things, making it easier. So Josh, thank you so much. We'll have you back here in just a couple of minutes, but now we're going to go ahead and make a transition. Please welcome to the call, playing the role of the ghost of network present. It's our man, Britton Gunderson. Gundy, welcome to the call, man. Again, this is the kind of thing that you talk about all the time. Is Britton with us?
Graham, hey,
There you are.
how's it
All
going?
right. And I love the hat. You've got the hat on just like me. Appreciate it.
I was
But
trying to join
Brittany,
in.
yeah, man, representing the ghost of network present, this idea, like what, and again, you have a lot of these conversations all the time, every day, right? More pass, more tools, more devices, but more complexity and not a lot of clarity. So, Chandler, if you want to go ahead and kick it to the next slide, Britton, talk through a little bit of what you see, some of the challenges our TA's customers are having when they're dealing with today's networks.
Well, and you said it perfectly, complexity. So complexity is everywhere in the organizations that we deal with, which is an opportunity for us. One of the things that transition from that past to present is a diversity in transport. Now we have access to all types of internet connectivity. However, there's challenges of tying those together efficiently. Seeing the details, the portal, the information, the analytics on those has now become difficult. Security sprawl. So organizations have almost gone from only security at the edge to now security everywhere. That has led to point solutions, basically firewall to the outside, firewall for segmentation internally. How do you secure your users internally? This has created portal sprawl. Now you have analytics, data, reporting that basically sits everywhere. Also, IoT explosion. So, from an internet perspective, 70% of the internet traffic is generated by mobile devices. So that's a tremendous amount of network that wasn't there in the past. So now we have new challenges of tying these together, making sure that we can see visibly what's happening inside the network and kind of keep our arms around it. It's really a challenge. IoT just alone is going 14% growth year over year, and we're going to see above 20 billion devices deployed globally.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy numbers. And one of the things, Brenton, you and I shared on the virtual ascend we did a couple of weeks ago was this idea of devices, right? Employees today, the average employee has 3 devices. The expectation is that's going to increase up to close to 15 by 2030. Who knows if we get there? But the fact of the matter is, we're moving to an environment where there's more, not less. And every single one of those devices we add adds complexity.
Yeah, we've gone from this state of implementing these different technologies. Now we just have technology sprawl, just over from the transport perspective, security perspective, devices, getting our arms wrapped around it. And really the challenge is there's a 4 million gap talent for security that we need to still fill. That's globally. So we're being asked to do more with less with the people that we have. And we're helping our IT directors get through their days.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much going on here in complexity. And Chandler, if you want to go ahead and move us to the next slide. Again, this idea of complexity. Complexity is the new holiday traffic jam, right? Anybody who tried to go to the malls during the holidays, you know what I'm talking about here. But Britton, talk through some of the customer pain points. Again, some of the key words that you're listening to when you're having conversations with TAs and their customers, things that you key in on, things like dashboard, those kind of things that sort of lead you to believe, hey, maybe we're dealing with an environment here that's overly complex and we can bring some simplicity.
Yeah, I think this first bullet, dashboard fatigue, really to me, it's analytics fatigue because now you have all of these point solutions where you have to log in to determine what's happening from a security perspective. Well, how do you look and step back and see that whole user experience, what that path for that user to get to that SaaS application? How do you troubleshoot? Well, you have to swivel chair from one device to the next, from one portal to the next, and it's really difficult. So the IT skill set is growing. Also, there is an enormous gap there, but it's difficult to translate skills from one platform to the next and really do it efficiently. The other element is, from a troubleshooting perspective and inconsistent cloud performance, really determining what the challenge is. Is this an application issue? Is this an internet routing problem? Really kind of coming back to just making a good experience for the clients. We have the technologies, but it's just not fully integrated all together. Well, and also with that integration and multiple platforms, this does innately create security gaps. If you have different systems and more complexity, you're automatically going to have more patching, more management,
Yeah.
more things to manage, and just keep your arms around. And complexity does create security gaps. And last, again, shortage. This is truly a problem that we all have to deal with and help our friends on the IT side deal with, because people are being asked from the security side to help manage network, and network folks are obviously being asked to manage security services. So simplifying, unifying the platform, aligning this with the business. One concept that's brought up here is NAS. So NAS has been something that has been mature on the WAN side, but we're starting to see that on the LAN side being much more functional and easier to use on the network LAN side of the services that we sell. So it's a bright future, but currently lots of complexity, lots of sprawl, device, portals, analytics, reporting. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. And I think, there's opportunities there, which is the key, right? When you hear about complexity, when you hear issues, we're having issues accessing a certain app, or we're having issues with all these devices, there's opportunity there for us to come in and help. And some of those consolidation opportunities you can see on the slide here, but obviously that is not an exhaustive list. We've got a lot more going on. Thanks, Gundy. We'll have you back here in just a couple minutes to talk on, but let's make a transition here. Next slide, Chandler. Let's talk a little bit about where we think we're going here. And to join us as the ghost of the network future, it's Telarus's principal solution architect, Mr. Jason Kaufman, looking very festive in his Christmas outfit. Jason, welcome to the call. Let's talk a little bit about where we see some of this going. And I think obviously there's a few things that we're starting to get a taste of already, but we can also start to maybe extrapolate that a little bit and see, hey, where are we going with some of this stuff. So Jason, welcome to the call, my man.
Thanks for having me, Graham. Yeah, I tried to dress to impress here. I got the tie and the sparkleness and all this stuff. Just wanted to keep the thunder going.
That's it, man. I love it. It's a good look. It's a good look. So let's talk about where you think we're going here, Jason. Obviously, you have a lot of conversations with TAs and their customers about, strategy, right? Like that sort of next step in the evolution of where we're going with our network services. And of course, you've got the view of the whole technology stack as our principal solution architect here. So talk through a little bit about some of the stuff you're trying to prepare customers for as we move into the next few years.
Yeah, it's all about enablement. So it's enabling the users, enabling the technology, and enabling the past, like the connectivity on, not only just AI-driven technology, but then also how is it being monitored? How is it being consumption-based to where you're using and procuring what you need when you need it? Everybody's getting used to the cloud infrastructure space to where you're getting resources as you need them. You're paying for them at the hour that you need them, and then you're turning them off when you don't. A lot of the conversations around connectivity is, hey, I want to procure connectivity when I need it, and then I want to give it back when I don't need it, but I only want to pay for what my usage is. So it's no longer trying to subscribe to, hey, we need to subscribe to 10 gig pipes because we need that 10 gigs for 5 minutes out of the day. No, it's only subscribing to what you need, and then you're bursting and taking the additional, delta when you need it, and then allowing somebody else to use it, when they need it. So a lot of the conversations we're having is not only building the capacity to withstand all this different usage structures and using it for all this different, all these different customers and what they need it for, but only allowing them to, procure it when they need it and giving them access to it at those times. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have a massive migration or data backup or something like that, and you're only doing it after hours. After hours is traditionally from electricity, from resource consumption, from anything like that. It's generally been a lower cost time to use different resources. So how do we do that from a connectivity stance? Hey, we're going to do our backup strategy around 3 a.m. or something. Maybe we can use a cheaper transport during that time, take it, and then give it back to allow somebody else to use it outside of that time frame. So it's using it when you need it, but then also using that AI intelligence to say, hey, it's going to be up when I need it, and it's going to have that self-healing characteristic to say, hey, automation is going to figure out there's an issue, whether it's performance, it's downtime, it is whatever degradation is being read, but it's automatically going to heal it when somebody needs it. So you have it, it's robust, and you have what you need when you need it.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, Chandler, if you want to move to the next slide here, there's a couple of fundamental forces that we find that are really kind of putting a huge impact on this. And obviously, behind the scenes on all of this is AI, right? AI is a huge initiative that a lot of companies have. It's a big part of it, but it's not the only thing that's going on in the network space. These three things here, I think, are ones that we've identified as trends that you can talk to your customers about. The device explosion, Brenton and I talked a little bit about that. Edge computing, all of these things being done at the edge, Kaufman, instead of being done within the corporate structure. And then, of course, you talked on it a little bit with this as a service disposition that a lot of customers have, where they want to buy things as they need it, use it as they need it, and not pay for stuff they're not using. So talk a little bit about how you're incorporating these things into your conversations.
Yeah, it's minimizing the latency to get to those resources. So as you were saying, how quickly can we get that user to access whatever they need to access to do their day? So, we've seen on the news right now how China's pumping out the 6G technology, multiple hundred gigabits per second at a mobile device wherever they're going. And now we're talking about companies like T-Mobile that are offsetting, and there's other companies doing this as well, offsetting the cellular technology with satellite with a partnership with Starlink. So you're enabling that person to wherever they're at have access to company data or personal data or whatever it is. And then now we're also taking those resources from the cloud infrastructure, from the on-premise infrastructure, putting it on the edge to where it's the first pop of wherever that ISP is. So now you're minimizing the distance it takes to travel there. So that ultimately you're going to give that better experience and quicker access to data. So that person's not going to have to wait for the sign-on times. Everybody always translates this to AOL startup message, like, having to go through those 7 or 8 different steps before you can actually get into what you need to do. Now, imagine having, no matter what you need to have access to, you have it to where you need it to be. And then just building out all that infrastructure to make it quicker. The quicker you have access to stuff, the more technology you can get access to. you have to have that foundational role of, hey, I need to be able to get to something and connect to it as quick as possible and where I need it to in order to have access to it. So the quicker they can get connectivity options to wherever the person's located, the more access they can do and the more technology you can give them access to. I know that's kind of like one of those things, like if you're looking at the 100 things of sales that you know that you didn't know type of thing. It's one of those things. Connectivity is the bare bones to everything. In order to give somebody access to things, you need to, build it to them.
Yeah, as Sharif said in the comments here, I think it's a great, networking is the new big oil, right? It's the thing that's behind the scenes on everything we do, every single piece of technology you sell to your customers. Behind the scenes, there's a network that drives that and makes that possible. And anytime somebody's making a change, there's an opportunity to talk through a network refresh. So let's bring the whole crew back on here, Haas and Brinton, as we move to the next slide there. Chandler, let's talk through a couple of questions that we ask, a couple of things that we say, a couple of technologies maybe that we've got our eyes on here over the next couple of months, couple of years. I know private cellular network is a big one that we're seeing more and more of. Guys, what else have you got your eyes on for our TAs here to keep in their view?
For me, Graham, it's and I lean on Britton and Kaufman all the time, right? But it's a not only I love that term that network is the new oil, but it's not just about buying more bandwidth or more pipe or whatever. It's about how does this application need to behave for that end user experience, one, to have 100% user adoption rate, and two, so I, as the network administrator, don't get calls. So it's not just about throwing pipe at it, but it's about how that pipe needs to behave for that specific application. And I'll give you an example. I'm working one right now out of New Zealand. They bought a contact center platform. They got all the pipe in the world, but everybody in New Zealand is transporting to US West to connect to the contact center host. And the CFO doesn't know anything about IT or tech or whatever, says, why is this always so slow? Well, you and I and us, we can figure this out immediately. Well, why are you sending traffic all the way to US West when you need the traffic in Australia? Well, that's just how it was designed. We bought a bunch of bandwidth and that's how it works. It doesn't have to be. So we, as advisors, need to say, how does that end user need to feel and behave on that application? Where does that host need to reside? How does it need to perform and behave? It's not about just throwing bandwidth at it. It's about throwing bandwidth at it, but where is it connecting and why?
Yeah. Gundy, Kaufman, anything you guys want to add here?
I think Jason hit it. The network is being treated differently. I think we have the skill gap that we have is created because these folks have traditionally dealt with AWS, Azure, the cloud models, and they expect that in all areas of their network. There's more and more conversations that I'm dealing with system admins instead of network admins that really want to consume just on a consumption model. And legacy telecom processes and things like that, it's difficult. It's difficult to transition from this build it after an order has been placed type of mentality to consume on demand. So that's one thing that I'm seeing recently in the last 2 years is many more discussions around that type of consumption model.
Now, I'd say the biggest one I'm seeing is a big push for AI ops. That self-healing characteristics to where what Hoss was saying, that IT guy is not getting those calls after hours, the MSP is not getting calls after hours, the connectivity provider, the aggregator, whoever's providing the service, making sure that it can detect when an issue or potentially before an issue is occurring and then remediate it and make that user experience all positive no matter what's going on under the hood. So we're seeing that with like network as a service companies that bring in like the Junipers, the Meraki's, to where you could, as soon as you plug something in, you could physically see how it's connected, where there's a potential issue. They could track it down super quickly to where that IT person has the root cause analysis at the snap of a finger. So think of not only getting that telemetry on the discovery side when you're troubleshooting, but also having the system to say, you know what, we already have a playbook for all this stuff. We're going to handle 99% of this stuff autonomously, and we're only going to need barely minimum human interaction. So a lot of the international companies that we're looking for and that we're consulting with today, they're asking for these types of things. How do I scale and how do I have something that I don't want to deal with? How do I have it autonomous to where we can focus on business strategy and other things?
Yeah.
So I think the AI ops is going to be a massive push moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with Cobb. That's kind of why we work as a team to figure these out and ask these why questions. But I don't want to be the party pooper and burst the balloons here. But when I roll out an application, it's not magic. It's not floating in the cloud. That application resides somewhere physically. And if I have hundreds, if not thousands of applications in my organization, how do I know where that application physically lives? By implementing AI ops, I don't have to know. I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to automatically connect to that nearest host, right? And that is super, super important.
Yeah. So Chandler, let's go ahead, skip the next slide. Let's just move to that. Let's move to this one here. So, folks, you're on the call here. Hopefully this has been very helpful for you as we start to go in there. Obviously, that act of sort of classifying where you think your customers might be, that's what we're asking you to do here for the next step. If you think these tools and these conversations are going to be useful for you with your customer base, go ahead and take a look at your customers. Be like, hey, where do they sit in this reality, right? Are they dealing in the past? Are they kind of struggling with the challenges of the present? Or are they ready for a conversation about where we're going here and what's next? So once you've done that, sit down with them, you've classified them, and help them with a plan, right? How do we get you to the next phase? Ideally, we want them all in that sort of sitting on the edge of the present, looking to the future, right? And we want to be there to help them do that. So hopefully you guys have found this of value, and always, of course, know that we're here to help. Next slide, Chandler. So again, we're here to help you guys with these conversations. As I mentioned on the call, both Josh, Brenton, and of course, Jason have these conversations all the time. Feel free to bring them in if you have conversations. Hey, Josh, I feel like I've got somebody who's maybe dealing with some legacy stuff here. I'd like to tee you up on a call. Gunderson, hey, these guys are going on. And obviously all three of these guys can handle, all the topics we've got. Our team is here to help you folks. We hope this has been good. Remember, the best way to predict the future is to help your customers build it. And the Telarus team is here to help you do it. Guys, thanks again for tuning in all this year. Jen, I'm going to hand things back off to you. Maybe we got a little couple minutes for Q&A. I'm not sure if we do, but if so, all of us are here to do that.
There haven't been as many questions today. There's been a lot of comments and saying, yeah, what Graham said, what Brenton said, all that kind of thing. But I haven't seen a lot of questions. So we can pause just for a second and see if anybody's got any questions for this team before we move along. But it looks like...
Yeah, and if not, of course, if you have something that comes up in a minute, all of us will stick around and kind of put stuff in the chat here. So I know we've got a full agenda today, so we're happy to kind of handle questions that way.
Let's do that.
And before we chat off, just want to, again, so many great names in the chat. I really appreciate the contributions of the folks week in, week out. Every time I'm on here, just contributing with conversation and questions. Hope you guys have a very happy holiday season, and we'll see you in the new year.